Hello, this is Cybermind. Welcome to the video. Today on this video we're going to go over making a new character on D&D Beyond. This is going to go into things like backstory or all that type of stuff. It's just going to be how to use the character sheet. I do have a readable guide which I'll put a link to in the description. But for now, let's get straight to it. So once you're logged in, you can find the character builder here. If you're going to be joining a campaign and you've been given a campaign link, you should make it from there in case it's being shared to you. So I will show an example of that. It's the same one either way. So this is just a one. So you will get a campaign link like that from somewhere, usually a private message or on the forum. You can just go to your browser, put in the link, and it'll give you the option to either create a character or I have a lot of characters, or to select one that's already not in the campaign if you made it outside. If you are given a campaign link, it's usually better to use that to join, just in case there is content sharing, in which case they may be sharing purchasable content that you won't have to buy yourself, and that will allow the options and so on to show on that character sheet. So you can either click it there, which you will do, might as well. Alternatively, you can just click from Tools, Character Builder. I'll take it to the same place. Okay, so go over the options here. This is the navigation bar. This will give you the options of your race, class, abilities, description, which is generally things like background, as well as other details like your ideals, bonds, and so on. Equipment, which is where you can just select your starting equipment and any other equipment you are allowed to start with. What's next is not really important, and then that will be highlighted when you are finished and are ready to be able to go to the character sheet. You don't need to fill out anything for a character sheet. You only basically need the race, class, and your ability scores, which we'll go over later. Let's go through them. So we'll start on the home page. This contains the basic information as well as what's going to be enabled on your character sheet. Let's go through the options. So you start here with your character name. I'll be doing card demo. You can use fantasy name generator. It's usually best to wait until after you selected your race to use this, or use the profile here. This is generally useful if you have a downloaded profile, but D&D Beyond does have a lot of defaults that you can just use as well. It's up to you. You will get the changes again in description again later, just in case. Let's start with the home page. So we've got the name there. You have character preferences. These are the sources. These are relevant to the certain source books that you can obtain from the marketplace. You do get stuff in the basic rules for free. I will bring it up now. And the sources, basic rules. Anything shown in here, you will get for free. That includes some of the races, which basically includes either the base race or one sub-race, if it is a race that has sub-races like elves. You don't get feats in the basic rules aside from the grappler feat. So you would have to purchase those if you want to use those. Usually not relevant if you're just starting a character unless you have a variant to one. But yeah, so you get quite a few things free. And of course, if you are buying extras, those will be enabled in your character sheet as well. Homebrew is for anything that's been homebrewed, either by you or anyone else in the same campaign as you. Critical role content, which I also have on, is stuff from a critical role, which will be the fighter subclass that Marissa made, the gunslinger, as well as the blood hunter class, which will enable those on your character sheet. It will also enable everything under the Explorer's Guide to Wildmount book. Everything in that book would then be enabled as well if you have purchased it or having shared with you. Same thing goes for the Ebron content. Again, this comes from the two sources of Ebron Rising from the Last War and Wayfinder's Guide to the Ebron. Magic the Gathering includes sources that are based off the card playing game of the same name. So this includes Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica and Mythic Odyssey of Theros at the moment. There's probably going to be more because I think there's more factions from the MTG card game. Rick and Morty, not see the point out because they don't really add much extra. There's one or two items. I think I purchased the item but not the source book because I don't actually like Rick and Morty because I'm weird. Non-core is pretty much anything that's not main Forgotten Realms or full source book. So this would be things like the charity stuff they did, like the Lost Laboratory of Graylish, that type of stuff. There's good content under there. There's one Grung Above, which is the Grung race and that type of thing. Total package, which includes the total race. There's just a few extras. There's there. Dice rolling is if you want to use the input dice roller. Because this game includes dices as well. I can't believe I just said dices, that's not the problem. Dice is a problem. But yeah. As you can see here, you do get to be able to roll for your ability scores, but I don't like using it on the sheet because it doesn't record them for a DM unless you're already in the campaign. And even then I don't think it does. But I'll show you a trick on how to roll for them without having to have a DM watch and still be able to record them for the DM to see, which won't involve using this, strangely enough. Optional features includes the Tasha Cauldron of Everything optional features, which includes optional features of the classes, which usually include expanded spell lists for some of the spellcasters or like extra fighting styles from things like Fighter, that type of thing, that the book introduced. Most DMs allow them, as far as I can tell. Obviously, you do want to check with your DM if they're going to be using the Tasha's options. Customize allows you to choose to override the default ability scores that a race might give you, so you can choose different ones. That's all covered under Tasha's. I don't think you actually need Tasha's in order for you to actually use these options. I may be wrong on that. But always check with the DM if they're going to use Tasha's. You should also check with the DM if they're going to be using Magic the Gathering, Critical Role, Ebron, because the default is the Forgotten Realms setting, and the stuff that's available in PHB, Monster Manual, and DMG. These are all the extras, so you will need to check with the DM if you want to allow them. Advancement type is going to be based on how your character progresses throughout from level 1 to 20. Check with your DM which one you want to use. If you're using a milestone, that means that for every level, aside from first, which is maxed, and instead of rolling for the HP like you normally would, you will. I am getting ahead of myself. Sorry, I'm not going to edit this out, I just made a blunder. Advancement type, not HP stuff, is when you level up. So milestone is when the DM basically tells you you've now reached next level, they just tell you that. XP will be based on the default style of gaining XP in the DMG, which is, getting certain points for certain encounters. A lot of DMs are actually moving towards milestone. The newer published guides are going on milestones, just because it gives the DM more control over which character is going to be at which level, and make sure that you progress regardless of whether you are choosing to fight monsters like murder hobos, or navigate political encounters or solve puzzles, because in the normal default DMG XP style, you don't get points for those. You only get points for murdering monsters, um, which is very good for dungeon crawling, not so good for more narrative RP. Um, so a lot of DMs tend to focus on master, but check with the DM, depending which one it is, and that'll determine how you level up. But the leveling up is actually the same either way. Hit point time is what I was mentioning before, where it's either going to be fixed or manual. So when you level up, you gain HP. Most classes have basic and roll. It will range from a D6 to a D12, depending on your class. But every class has an average, where you can either choose to roll or you can choose to take average. That is your choice as a player. More often than not, if you are a lower HP spellcaster, fixed is probably going to be better. Some DMs do allow you the option to choose between fixed or manual. You can choose to roll, and if you don't like the roll, take average. That's usually going to be either average or better. I'm going to go manual because I'll show you how to how to adjust your HP progression in D&D Beyond. It's a little bit quirky, whereas with fixed you don't have to worry about it at all. Use prerequisites. Certain feats and multiclassing has prerequisites on what you can choose to have them. For example, multiclass tends to have a certain ability score at a certain amount, or you can choose, or a feat might require you to be a certain race. If your DM is very kind, they're going to give you the option to turn those off, in which case you can pick any race regardless of any. I am messing up so much. Any feat, regardless of race or whether you need to be a spellcaster or not, or whatever, and multiclass regardless of whatever your ability scores are. They're on by default because that is the default rules, but check with your DM. This is for spellcasters. As you level up, you gain the option to use higher level spell slots. So your low level spells could be upcasted using a higher level slot. Oh my god. Which will make the spell a higher level, and sometimes, depending on the spell, do additional damage or have additional effects. You can either choose to have it on, which is by default, where as you look at your spell sheet, as you look at your spells in your character sheet, you will see at each level the same spells, but they'll be highlighted in blue, and they'll show you what the extra damage is going to be or what the extra effect is going to be. If you don't like that, because it makes your spell section look too busy, you can turn it off. But it does mean that if you wanted to roll the damage or whatever, you'd have to do it as a manual roll if you're upcasting, because it won't show you the higher level roll. I'll show you that later. Encumbrance, probably don't need to worry about this too much, but you either use the default encumbrance rules, sometimes DMs use a variant encumbrance rule, and sometimes they have no encumbrance. Encumbrance is when you are carrying or lifting too much for what your character should be able to lift or carry. Depending on which rule you have, you'll either just reduce your speed by 10, or it will reduce your speed to 5 feet per movement. So check with your DM which rule they use. The default is usually this one, which is the default that shows in the core books, but the DM is free to change it. Ignore coin weight. Most games don't have you track how much coin weighs unless it's a huge amount. This has a default of it being on because most games actually ignore that rule. But again, one of those things is to check with your DM. This option, normally when you're on your character sheet, you will have the modifiers in big, the actual score below, which is where it's modifiers top, that's the default. But you can change them around to have the scores at top and the modifiers below. using the scores top option. Personally, I find modifiers top to be easier because you usually reference your modifier far more than you'll ever reference your ability score. Character privacy allows you to, if you're going to share your character and on forums or wherever else, you will be able to give them a link that will take them to your character sheet. They can't edit it. They can't edit anything on your sheet. Only you can change things. But they will be able to view the character. If you set it to private, nobody but you or your DM will be able to see your character. This is going to be public because why not? I mean, unless they know the character URL that it creates, they won't be able to get to your character anyway unless you're in a campaign. And my phone is going off. Sorry about that. So, next thing it'll probably be race. Just to load. There we go. I pretty much have everything unlocked that you can get. So you've got quite a big selection if you have everything. The most interesting one is from Tasha's, which is custom lineage. Custom lineage is generally going to be used for very unique characters that aren't really part of a race. They're good if you want to use something that's very different from the base races, where I think you just kind of select the let's see, yeah. So you can choose one ability score to increase of your choice. You can choose if it's going to be a small or medium. You can then choose either a dark version at the rate of 60 feet or a proficiency in one skill of your choice. You can choose to read common or another language, and then you can also choose a feat of your choice. So it's kind of similar to a variant human with a bit more option. But basically, yeah, it's that's for creating very customized characters that aren't covered, as you say, from the other races. So yeah, so I'm going to be making a rogue. So I'm going to probably want something that's going to have a nice luck and chance type thing. Actually, I'm going to go with the Mark of Warding Grove. I'm not going to be a spellcaster version, but it will give me. I don't need to worry about the ability score increase because you will be able to change that. But it gives you total proficiencies, part of the race. You get combat training, but I'm going to change that. But the main reason why I want to get it is because you get things like this. We can put alarms on arcane lock. So I want this person to be good at locksmithing. Also for this, so we can actually choose to either add a default to either investigation or thief tools. So I like that for the character I'm making, so I will choose that. However, I don't. Let's see. Go with that. I'll choose smith tools because that's good. It makes them good working with metal, and locksmithing, as well, I suppose, is metal based. So we'll go with that. But I am going to change the. It's going to be 2 to con, which I'm not going to need that much of, and it's going to be 1 to intelligence, which is good. But I kind of want more of a dex build because it's going to be a rogue. Also because I'm not going to need these proficiencies in the typical weapons. Tasha's allows you to change them. So let's go to the origin manager from Tasha's. So this will allow me to change the con that normally gets added to. This it can allow me to change the weapon proficiencies, which I'm not going to need. We don't need to change that because I actually like having the locksmithing. I keep saying locksmithing, I mean just smithing, but it does include working with any type of metal, so locksmithing, blacksmithing, that type of thing. technically covers all of them. We're good with the Ordinary languages, which is Dwarven and the Modern Greece. We're going to be fine with because the +1 to intelligence. Rogues are going to be using things like these tools and picking locks and that type of thing, investigations. They're very intelligence based. These tools tend to be either dexterity or intelligence most of the time. So we're going to do that. So if you go back here, you now let's choose it. So this is going to change it to, so instead of constitution, we're going to change it to dexterity. So that goes a +2 to dexterity. And for here, we should be able to change them to either a simple weapon or a tool. Because with the Tasha's rules, it allows you to change any simple weapon to either another type of simple weapon or tool. Or if it is a martial weapon, you can change to either a simple weapon, martial weapon, or tool. We're going to go very tool based. So let us start with Arco Supplies is always a good one because it gives you things like acids and poisons. We're not going to need much in the way of weapons. Let's have a look. We don't need to get Thieves Tools because we're going to get that automatically from our class because we're going to go Rogue. Then we'll go with Tinker's Tools. You never know when you need to tinker something. That's anything involving cogs or machine work, as usual. Let's see. Now, I want him to be good with forging as well because he is a rogue. Also, having proficiency with forgery kit can also be used to identify forgeries. So that's good because he can be more of a security expert rather than an actual thief. So, and let's see what else. Your Blizzard kit is kind of a good one. You can also make a healing potion, but he's not going to be that type of poisonous kit. There we go. So acids and poisons and forged documents, anything to involve tinker tools plus thief tools and smithing tools. So quite a lot of proficiency there, which is good for rogues and bards because they are pretty much skill monkeys. They can get expertise, which makes them just better at the skills side of things. Rogues are skirmishers in combat, so you do want to have a balance between stuff you can do in combat, so sneak attack, and stuff you want to do outside of battle as well, because they're not very good at staying in battle. If they get hit too many times, they will go down quicker. They're not designed to just stand there and face one-on-one. They're supposed to be moving around, go in, attack, get your sneak attack, and then bolt out, try it again. So that's kind of what you're wanting to do with rogues in general. And I tend to want to make this character be a bit more useful outside of combat with, as I said, security, breaking into places, making things more secure, that type of stuff. So we're going to go with the rogue. Now, obviously this will change a little bit depending on which class you choose, but in this case we get to choose 4 rogue skills as well as getting thief tools. So this is going to be a very good skill monkey. So we're going to want stealth, always good. Investigation. I said it's going to be for security, so you're going to want perception. You're not going to be best at things like acrobatics or athletics. He's not there to actually do thieving. So you're not going to be trying to climb onto rooftops or doing somersaults. He's just there to get the job done. I apologise. So you're going to want a sleight of hand. Just in case it comes in useful. I'm not going to have him be a pickpocket. I'm not technically not going to play this character at all, but this character is built with the idea of being security, not actually an actual thief, so he's not going to pickpocket, but having proficiency sleight of hand may mean you can notice it a bit better, it may mean that you know what to look out for, that type of thing. I mean, you can expand on how your skills are used with your DM. I think one of the newer books has expanded options for these to say in other ways that they could be used and that type of thing. I think that was actually in Xanathos. Anyway, so expertise. So starting at level 1, we do get expertise in 2 of the skills that we've chosen, or any proficiency that we have. We are going to want to go with Thief Tools, because that's the one that gets us into places. Now we could choose either investigation or perception. So it's going to be more, I say security, but it's more about checking the perimeters, checking locks are good. I actually want to give him a bit more skills for investigation. That's usually a little bit better. He's not the watch, he's not a sentry type security person. He's just more about finding information, making sure the doors are locked, and that type of thing. So we're going to go with investigation. Expertise basically means that your proficiency bonus is doubled for the ability check you make. Also, because of our race choice, you'll also get an extra d4 as well. So it's going to be really good at these 2 skills. Rogues do get, here, you will be able to have a preview of what's going to come up later. Somehow you're going to end up getting another level of expertise here. We could choose another 2 to become expert at. So with that done, optional class feature. These are introduced in Tasha's. In this case, it's just a case of, as a bonus action, you give yourself advantage on your next attack roll on your current turn. You can use this bonus action only if you haven't moved during the turn, and after you use the bonus action, your speed is 0 until the end of the current turn. So basically, you forego your bonus action on all your movement of the turn to get advantage. It's optional. Most DMs are going to allow it just because your rogue staying put for the entire turn is actually pretty dangerous. Because they need their movement to be able to position themselves. They're not a tank in any way. As I said, they're skirmishers, so they aren't very good at up close and staying in up close melee. So it's a good feature. Most DMs allow it, so I'm going to put it on here. Obviously, you do have to check with your DM if they do allow that option. Next up is ability scores. Now it'll show here that what we're getting from our thing. So we choose that we get 2 to dexterity and 1 to intelligence there, and you can see that they are already reflected in these here. Now you do have the option of choosing either the standard array, which basically means that you get either 15, 14, 13, 12, 10 or 8 to pitch whichever score you want. So let's say you were going for Dex build. We already have 2, probably best put 14 in there, make that 16, because I just like even numbers, I'm annoying. And our intelligence could be 15, because we get the +1, so I've got 2 16s in the 2 ability scores we use the most. We can probably put a 13 there. We're going to want to have a high perception as well. Constitution is going to be 12. We don't need that many hit points as a rogue because, as I said, you're not going to be in melee often enough. You should be able to go in, use a disengage, get out, and do it that way, or use a ranged attack such as a crossbow, which is probably what I want to be doing. Let's see, you can choose either have one of these at 8 or one of these at 10. I would choose probably a strength of 10 on a charisma of 8. I don't care about him being a people person. He's not going to be there to persuade people or intimidate people. Quite frankly, the less noticeable he is, the better. They don't have much presence. You notice that this is already highlighted, so if you wanted to go straight to your character sheet without a background or descriptions, you can. It's usually best to fill in these first. However, this is if you want to use a standard array. You do also have the option to point by. Now, point by is where you have 27 points to spend. Everything starts at 8, and you can spend points to increase. At certain points, or certain levels will take certain points. If I want to put this as a 10, it will take 2 points. If I want to put this, if I change my mind, I want to change this back to 9, I'll get a point back. And so on. And you just spend the points as you need to build your character abilities. There's not a huge much of a difference between point by and array. You'll pretty much get the same amount of ability scores and modifiers out of them. Manual is where you do get to roll for your characters. Now you can use the inbuilt dice roller here. I go 15. Got an 8 there. 17, that's pretty good. 18, that's better. 13, 16. So these are some really good scores. So one thing you could do is take a screenshot of this, upload it somewhere, so that you can then show it to your DM. As a DM, I wouldn't actually accept that because you can just keep resetting and going over again as often as you wanted until you got the ones you need without them any way of knowing. So I don't actually allow that as a DM, but there is a way. If you go into the forums, here, and if you go down to the play by post form, there is a thread rolling dice, because this form has an inbuilt dice roller. And this, as you can see here, uses them for my ability scores. And if you look over them, it shows you what the roll is. These are ability scores, which is the 46 drop lowest one. He's got reroll ones, but yeah. So what we can do, what do I name my character? I think I need a new character demo. Let me go check. Yeah, new car demo. Okay. So we'll put the name of the character. New car demo. Micro voting. Why have I put ward? Micro voting. Dwarf. Well, so we do that so that when we can give the link to this post, and the DM knows that this post is for this character. It's not something you just posted and posted and posted. Because with the post, they can see if you have edited the post, so they'll know. If you were to add the roles, which I'll show you now, and then you were to either delete them or change them in any way, there is a banner that pops up at the top of the thing showing that it has been modified. So it tells the DM that you might be doing something a bit sneaky. Sometimes it's just because it's going a bit weird, but it is there to tell the DM this was a genuine roll, and they can see what you rolled. There's no way to deceive the DM with it. So there's that. So it's this little thing here on the right, dice roller. I don't know if this will show up because sometimes some of these pop-ups and stuff don't always show. But it should come up with a pop-up box of dice roller with options of either basic, combat, or ability scores. We'll go ability scores. It will default to 6, and which means that it will do the 4d6 and drop lowest 1 to get the score. This is how the rolling is done in the player's handbook. Some DMs will do it differently. You can choose different options here, and you can choose if you want to re-roll ones either once, always, or never. The default option is never, because that's what the rule is. But some DMs are a bit more kind. And myself allow you to just reroll ones as often as you need, because the ones just suck. In any case, since we want this to be a bit more applicable to more DMs, let's keep it never. Pretty much all you need. So if you were to then post, these are the scores that we get here. Actually pretty good scores. So what we can do is we can copy them. And before we go into here, you can go into our description, because in your character sheet there is a notes field. So if you go into notes, other, so we could say roll ability scores. It doesn't matter, that's pre-readed. And we can then, where it says got the number here on the top right of the post, if you right click and you copy link address, it might show a little bit differently depending on your browser, but there should be an option to copy the link. Then go back into our character builder and paste the link. This is so that any DM seeing your sheet will be able to see the link going to the forums where it's been rolled. And yeah, that way it's always on your character sheet. So now we can go back to the abilities, and I'm probably going to want to use those. So we have the 16. I'm probably going to want to put that into my dexterity. You got 15. I'm going to want to put that in my intelligence, because then that becomes 18 for our dexterity, which is what we use for attacks, as well as defense and all things. Intelligence, that we can use for investigation. Let's see, we have a 14 and a 13. 14, 13, and the other two are 11. So check here, 2 11s. So yeah, so those are some good scores. We can scroll down and see what they would actually end up being. So we'd have a strength of 11, dexterity 18, constitution 13, intelligence 16, wisdom 14, charisma 11, which is pretty good. Now one thing you will have to do is, unless you want to be spammed, once you've added it here and you've got the link said and done. Oh, there's an example. See, this post has potentially manipulated dice roll results. That means that they have edited the post and changed one of the rolls in some way. If you go to tools and unsubscribe, this is because, as you can see, this gets a lot of activity and you don't want to get notifications every time somebody uses it. It's not going to be needed. So, once that's added, we can then move on. So if we go to description, now description is where we can change the name again if we wanted to. If we use the petty name generator, it should match with our race if it has. This means where you choose randomize, or click there for our website for ideas on names. You can also get names online. There's also names in the race descriptions. There's more. And here you can choose your portrait. Because we've chosen a dwarf, it will default to all the dwarf ones we got. I'm just going to pick this one. And there we go. So for our background, weirdly enough, we're going to pick a criminal spy. This is just because, as a proper investigator, as a security person, this gives us the better things that we want. Kind of gives us the background that you were like a criminal in your past. You kind of try to go on the straight and narrow and use the skills and stuff that you have learned for better reasons. Now with backgrounds, if you already have one of the tools, languages, or proficiencies that it gives you, you get to choose something else entirely of your own choice, which is of the rule that's detailed in the player's handbook. This would normally give us deception and stealth. We already have stealth, so we can do something different instead. I'm going to choose insight because that would be relevant to someone who is into security and has worked with some unscrupulous people before. Tool proficiencies, a gaming set. We'll choose cards. Most people choose the cards easy enough. And another tool. A lot of tools here. Let's see. One thing you want to do, I mean, you could always choose a instrument just in case, because you never know. It gives the character something a little bit different. So if there's nothing relevant for a mechanical reason, you can always use it for an RP type reason. So personally, I am going to go with, let's see, I'm going to make him a good cook, just because. I mean, he's got some alchemical knowledge, so chemistry and cooking tend to go hand in hand. So as a criminal, he can have criminal contacts, so something he knows still in that shady areas. And associated characteristics. Usually, these are roleplay elements. As a DM, I wouldn't enforce these, but let's see. They might not always be relevant because of the fact that this is his background and not something he continues to be. But this is something he would do as a security person. The first thing he would do in a new place is to note the locations of everything valuable or where they could be hidden. That's something he would still be doing in his new role. He's also going to be pretty hard to trust people. Those are just some personality traits that you can then play with when it comes to doing something narrative. His ideals, I don't steal from others in the trade, freedom, charity. He doesn't actually do that anymore. People I'm not, my friends, not doing ideals, and anyone else can take sticks for like care. Yeah, he's kind of that. He's more interested in friends than anything else. Actually, I'm going to go with that instead. Redemption. He is a person who is now trying to be good. Bonds. These are like what you want to get for the future, like the main goals of your character, I suppose. The overall idea or story arc. In this case, it's redemption because he sees the spark of good in everyone. He likes to think that everyone has something good in him. And he himself wants to try to be better. It makes him a bit of a good character, but then again, you don't have to stick to the suggestions there because they don't always match. Bonds. These are bonds, something to do with somebody else. Something that you, DM, might be able to work with and give something about your character into a new story. You try to pay off an old debt to benefactor, so your DM might look at that and think, okay, how much are you going to be putting towards that debt? And who is that benefactor? How are we going to get that done? Cauldron gives good support family. He didn't have that. So this is going to be good. Someone I love died because of a mistake I made. That'll never happen again. This could be a story moment of why he chose to turn away from life of crime and become more into security and helping people and that type of stuff. So we'll add that. My headphone and mic is crackling. I hope it's not something to do with my mic because it's brand new. Okay. Flaws. Flaws are good to work with. If you are stuck with how to RP a character, it's usually better to go with the flaws. Characters who are too good at everything tend to be sort of like the Mary Sue type thing. harder to relate to, the harder to get into, the harder to roleplay, and they're less liked by the party. So, this person is loved for a crime committed. I'm okay with that. Let's see. I can't think of anything but how to steal it. Yeah, that'd be good. It'll play to the temptation that he still has. So he wants to think about stealing it. It'll distract him because he's constantly trying to fight against his own nature to not steal anymore. So we've got our flaws. So they wash up under here. You can choose manual ones, and I'm going to edit this one because I didn't want to choose. I'm just going to have one idea. I'm not really interested in the. There we go. Usually have 2 personality traits, 1 idea, 1 bond, 1 flaw. That gives you something basic to work with. Some DMs don't care about this type of stuff. It is really more of a tool for you as a player on how to roleplay this character if you are into a more narrative game. Some games are basically just dungeon crawls, and your personality and roleplay and backstory are irrelevant. So it all depends. Here we have characters like their alignment, faith, and lifestyle. I'm not going to bother with these because this is just a demo character, and I always choose none for faith because I don't like having non-clerics with a religion. An alignment is a concept I don't use for my characters, but specifically most DMs don't either, because it's something that just constantly changes and it's too simplified for most RP aspects. But anyway, that's where you choose them if you want to use them. Physical characteristics will be where you choose things like hair, skin, eyes, weight, age, gender. These are all open boxes, so you are able to choose whatever you want in them. For example, you might have a custom character that doesn't have a particular gender, and so on. So you can choose whatever suits you. I'm not going to bother with this character just because it is a demo, and they're just text boxes. And those things, and notes will be where you would add your notes for the things if you want to make use of it. So you could put your backstory here. I personally prefer my backstory in like a document somewhere instead, just because I tend to make them a bit bigger rather than that, and it looks weird on here. If you want to add certain enemies that your character has, allies, and you can continue to update these as you play through the game. Either because there's something that you just added into your backstory, or because something you've encountered in game and have now made a new ally or a new enemy, or joined a new organization. And there is that other field for pretty much everything else about your character, which can include secrets. It can include mechanical stuff like your ability scores, as we mentioned, anything like that. Anything in the notes field cannot be viewed by any other character, even if you share your character publicly. The only one who can access it would be you and the DM. So it's good for you to keep this stuff here hidden, so that you can only reveal what you want to reveal. So you can only reveal part of the backstory that you want to reveal, and so on. But they're there for your own notes as well as for the DM if they want to check your backstory anytime, if you haven't given them a separate document link. That's all good. So we can go through these. That's all good. Next thing is equipment. You can choose option for starting equipment, which you can either choose the wealth option and just add in your gold. If you choose gold, it just gives you the thing. You can actually randomize it now, and then add. It does it for you. Most people choose equipment. You can see. So I want him to be more ranged. So we're going to have a short sword there, short bow and quiver 20 arrows. You could have a burglar bag, dungeoneer's bag. I'm actually going to go with the over his back, because these are all the different types of things that you're likely to use. You already get thieves tools part of it, crowbar, and so on. These are the starting things based on your class and background, so they will be different depending on those. You can always discuss with your DM about changing any of these things. And we can add the starting equipment. So we're going to wield dagger. So we're not actually wielding them. This makes them easier for us to wear the leather armor, which will help. And short bow and short sword. So you would have, you would have a short sword and a dagger on his belt and hips, and the short bow on his back with the quiver. There you go. So you can select those, and if you use the backpack, then choose what goes into the backpack, which I'll show you later. So I think you can still add stuff here if you wanted to, but you're probably not going to do that when you're starting a character. Then we can go to our character sheet, because we've selected everything. And this is the character. So here, so you notice that you've got these little boxes. This is for the dice roller, and this up here, yeah. So this here is custom dice. So if you wanted to roll a d12, there you go. There's a d12, and you can choose whether you want to roll for everyone, which goes into the log if you're in a campaign, or if you want to roll for just the DM. It all goes into the log if it's in a campaign, and you'll also roll over into the average dice bot if you are using that in Discord. So we have our character here. You can see that he's pretty good at investigations. You got stuff here. This is where you'd use your character. So the only other thing to go over would be if you were to level up your character. You'll notice the hit points here, and this is actually a little bit high. So what I want to do is go to character builder, because this is the thing when if you do, I did skip this. You do have to go to manage HP, because your HP will not be this. It'll be your total start value should be 9. Because rogues are D8, and on the first level you don't roll, you just take the maximum, which would be 8, and then you would add your constitution. So here you would put in what the roll would be 8 and apply. So your starting value would be 9, because it would be 9 plus your constitution, which is a +1 in this case. So I think if you were to level up and roll, the best thing you can do is go into your character sheet. You would roll here a d8, roll that one. I got 7. So you would then note in here. Always a good idea to make a note. So put in second HP roll 7. So this is because if you ever mess up, you have a log here of what your HP roll was, so that when you go to level up your character, and then we become level 2, you have to go to manage HP. It already adds our constitutions for us, so we would then on here add in 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. which was 15, and with a +1 per level for Constitution, we'd now be at 17. That's how to do the HP level up. We don't need to select anything for leveling up to level 2. It adds the stuff automatically. If there was something to adjust or change or whatever, there would be like a blue exclamation mark to let you know. So that's how to make a character and how to level up. Thank you. Usual.